All right, good morning, everybody, on this April 12th, checking in on this. It's like spring everywhere, and we've got a full squad today, so this could be busy and cool, or who knows where this will go. Peter Iso, thanks for coming back. You've been to Cabo, and I guess now we know you've been up to Sacramento dealing with horses and horse trails and stuff. So you've been to both ends, and you did set a course record on that Cabo thing, so we want to hear about that eventually. So above you, we've got Daniela Moroz, who's our four-time world champion kite, this and that, and now you're bound for USA SailGP in Bermuda pretty soon. So as one of the female inductees, or not inductees, but you're going to be a lamb thrown to the lion there, huh?
Yeah, very exciting.
All right, well let's do a quick screen share, because I try to get something out of the team, and this is what I got. So let's see what we got. You've probably seen this before, so this will tell a little bit of your story.
We're looking forward to having some women involved with this team that come out of a really talented group from the United States.
Hardest thing was really going through and selecting two. I mean, we're really stoked because we've identified two awesome athletes coming in, and we use the entire sailing team to make that decision, and Philippe, our coach.
Daniela and CJ, they're awesome sailors. Daniela is an incredible athlete and a point kiteboarder, and CJ is amazing. As soon as I saw the video, I said, "Ooh, so much energy, so much skill for a young age." Obviously, the foiling skill is, we believe, is the most important thing in the type of sailing we're doing. You know?
These are really, really talented foiling water women who are going to be able to come in and learn the racing side of it quite easily, because the rest of it's going to seem easier for them. We're super excited to have CJ and Daniela with us.
We're looking forward to see you soon in Bermuda.
So off to Bermuda you go, Danielle. Are you excited or what?
Oh my God, excited doesn't even begin to describe it. Yeah, I can't believe it's actually happening. And this whole experience has been so surreal, honestly. And yeah, I'm just super, super excited to get to learn from all those guys and be part of that team and just contribute as best I can.
What's your job on the boat?
That's kind of still, that's going to be an ongoing thing. I think for the beginning, my job is just to learn and observe and absorb as much of it as possible. And the first little bit is going to be a lot of shoreside learning. And I think SailGP as an organization is something that I really support, and they're really authentic in their approach and wanting to get more just novice sailors on the F50 and learn more and just become better sailors. So it's going to be a long-term thing. They're not expecting me to, be able to trim the wing first thing when I get there. So I think it's just going to be a lot of short side learning and a lot of time in the chase boat to begin with. And then hopefully sometime in position 6, which is it's an inactive position that is behind the helm while they're in training. So hopefully I'll get some fun rides on that, and then we'll kind of go from there. And hopefully later this season I'll be able to try some of the active positions, and then they'll kind of see what I'm best at, and yeah, go from there.
So who gave you the call that said, "Hey Danielle, we should probably give a shout out to CJ as well, but that you're on the team." Was it Jimmy or Philippe, or who gave you the good news?
Yeah, so this is a funny story, because that application process came out, I think it was mid-February or something, and originally I wasn't even planning to apply. I was like, oh, that's really cool that they're finally gonna get female athletes on board, because as cool as it is a little bit frustrating just seeing season 1 there was only one woman on one of the teams, and it's okay, but it's 2021 now, we need to do something about that. So I was really excited to see that process coming out. And then I started getting messages from some of the guys that I had met in San Francisco when the event was here, telling me I should apply. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should. I guess it's a really good learning opportunity and I can't pass that up. So I applied, and then I guess it was a little bit less than a month later, I got an email from Chemo, who is the general manager. And he was like, oh, we were really impressed with your application, and Jimmy will be in touch this weekend. So I was like, hold up, Jimmy Spithill is gonna like talk to me, like he wants to talk to me. So that was pretty cool. And then sure enough, like he calls me and he was like, Daniela, we love what you're doing and we really want you on the team. And the only catch is you have to teach me how to tack and jibe. And I was like, yes, I will do that.
I knew it.
So it was
yep. As soon as I saw this, I was
Yeah.
like, see, this is Jimmy's ploy to get better because I've seen his skills on most of the foiling boards and they need help. So yeah.
Yeah, so it was super cool getting to talk to him. And I honestly, the whole time I was like, heart rate at 180, just like, oh my God, Jimmy Spithill is like on the phone with me and wants to talk to me. It was crazy. So yeah, I was super excited about that. And yeah, the whole thing has been, again, pretty surreal for me.
Nice. How does it fit into what your campaign to Paris and what you're trying to do? I mean, obviously, Bermuda is a good place to keep training, and you can your equipment is pretty mobile, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not just, I think that there's so much I can learn just from being in that type of professional environment. And I know that not only is there a lot that I can contribute to the team, but I think that there's a lot that they can help me with just in terms of sailing and racing. And I mean, you can walk around the base and there's like, I don't know how many medals and Olympic experiences are just like in that one area and America's Cup winners and stuff. So like there's just so many resources and incredible people to be able to talk to and get advice from. So I'm honestly really excited just to be in that kind of environment and get to shadow people like that really and just kind of follow them around and learn. And the fact that I'm even getting paid to do that is just another story. I can't believe that is even happening. So it's just going to be, yeah, a lot of learning, like I said, and I think that I'll just be able to apply that to my kiting campaign.
Good.
Yep.
Hey,
Well,
Daniela,
you were quite.
congratulations. Sorry, Dave. Congratulations, Daniela. It's a really cool opportunity, and I know you're going to learn a lot and meet a lot of great people. One of the things that I wonder about with the GP circuit there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the training days are pretty limited. Is that right?
Yeah, it is very limited because at least like from what I know right now, there's only 3 boats actively sailing in Bermuda. And so, but there's 6 teams already there. So all the teams have to kind of alternate time on the boat. So time on the boat is really the most valuable thing, just in the circuit right now. And you just got to make do with what you have, I think. And I think there's still plenty of learning opportunities to be had. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't quite understand about that circuit. It's not like what you're doing where you can choose to sail, 12 hours a day if you want to prepare for what you're doing. But with the foiling cats, and especially, being a bigger boat and somewhat delicate in terms of, a lot of systems and so forth, takes a lot of time on shore to keep that thing going. And that means
Exactly.
less time. And then of course, there's only so much time that the fleet is in one place, which is when they get to sail. So it's a tricky one to make that work for everyone on board to get the best out of themselves. So that must be really interesting to see how that goes and how they spend their time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it can be frustrating for sure because like you say, you don't get as much time as you want on the boat. You just get, your 2-hour slot, if that, during the day. And that's, weather dependent also. And if everything lines up, then yeah, maybe you'll get those full 2 hours. But it's tough, but it's a cool job. I can't complain. And yeah, just so much to learn. So I'm excited.
Oh, it will be exciting. It will be fun. You'll learn a lot.
Do you think is there this position 6 that you mentioned? Is there an opportunity? You think they could change that to have it in play during racing as well to get more time on the water? Or is that for them to decide?
Yeah, it's definitely more for them to decide. I think that for actual racing, you can only have 5 people on the boat. So position 6 is really just an observation position for any new person coming onto the boat. They can just be there and see what's happening when the boat is actually sailing and to see how it all goes in training.
And I was going to ask earlier, I know that my understanding with you in a lot of your own foils for your kiting stuff, like you're very hands-on in the foil design and development. Is that an area that interests you as well, working with these guys on systems and getting maybe a little more bigger into the bigger gear and more technical stuff?
Yeah, I've never been a super technical person on the gear side of things. I think that I've spent enough time on the water now that I know enough to, figure out when something feels good or when something's not working or when something's faster than another thing. So I'm quite lucky to have been able to test so many different foils with like a local designer and things like that. But in terms of actually like going in and touching things, that I leave that to the professionals. But I definitely think like there is a lot to be learned there, and I can definitely, it's a big area for me to improve in, and definitely a bit out of my comfort zone, but that's what this whole experience is for, I think. So yeah, I can definitely see myself kind of trudging into new waters.
Hey, Daniela, congratulations. What a cool opportunity. Bermuda's a great place too, if you've never been there. I was just, my good friend out here in San Diego is a guy you just spent some time with in La Ventana, Nico Landauer. And,
Yeah.
he is so impressed with your skills, and he says you're just amazing. So I hope you're able to keep the time in there too, because he has high hopes for just crushing when kiting gets to the Olympics. So I've got a question. Have you gotten any sort of pre-sale safety briefing at all? What's that going to be like?
Yeah, so there's always like there's a safety diver for each of the teams, or maybe not each of the teams, but there's a few safety divers that goes through a bunch of safety stuff with all the teams. And that's something that you have to do in person. So I'll be doing that in Bermuda, but I think that's also something that would be applicable to kiting as well. Just like, I mean, I like to think I've always been pretty comfortable in the water, like coming from a competitive swimming background, but I think it's just another thing, like I said, to learn and get more comfortable with. So yeah, it's super exciting.
Do you have a bit of a lay of the land once you get there in a couple days time, that, hey, you're going to be dropped right in, here's what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks or so?
Yeah, so we're pretty much confined to a bubble, and we're not allowed outside of the hotel and the base. So it's definitely pretty strict, like for COVID, which I think is really good because it allows us to still train and compete and, hold an event, which is awesome. I think that there's going to be a lot of safety stuff to begin with, and then a lot of like media and photo shoots, and then yeah, just training and getting on the boat and the chase boat and things like that. So, but even just things like getting the boat in the water, I think it takes time, and there's going to be a lot of time on land. So yeah, I'm just taking everything as it is and making the most of it.
Nice. So you guys are based out of with the Princess Hotel, so you get some luxury accommodations and a paycheck and all you can eat buffets.
Oh yeah,
not too bad, It's a good start.
not bad at all.
And just real quick, what's happening on the kite foiling front? Or have you switched over to wings, or will you never go down that road? What's the latest toy of the day?
Yeah, so I kind of took a break from kiting last year because I was feeling really burnt out at the beginning of last year, and I really just needed to take some time off. So I did get into winging a lot last summer. I think I did that way more than I kited last year, which was super fun, and definitely, made me feel more refreshed to get back into kiting. And I think winging is super fun, actually. I think it's a really good like entry level water sport and super accessible. I don't ever see it going very, I don't know, I guess like maybe for freestyle and stuff, it'll get competitive that way, but I don't ever see it going Olympic or anything, just because it's not really high performance enough. And like, if I want to go fast, I'm going to go kite, So, yeah, but it was fun to try that last year and try a bunch of different things. And then this year kind of at the end of last year, I got back into kiting a little bit. And then this year I've definitely been getting back into a more regular training regimen. I spent a lot of time in Florida, and then we just got back from like a month and a half of training in Mexico, actually, where Nico Landauer was coaching us, actually, which was really good. And we've got a whole like Team USA kite group, which is awesome. And so, it's great to be able to go train with an actual group rather than just by yourself or maybe with one or two other people. And then for the international scene, a lot of the big international stuff has been postponed towards the second half of the year, kind of, but there's a couple like smaller international events that will be happening. For example, right after Bermuda, I'm going straight to Europe for a couple like Spanish tour events, just to, I haven't really lined up with any of the Europeans since like the end of 2019, so I felt like I really wanted to get back over there and kind of see where I'm at. And then, yeah, from there, just see what's happening with the scene and kind of plan out my peak events for the year.
That's amazing. How about that, fellas? Like, so what do you do? 18 or 19 now?
I'm 20.
20. You're 20. Okay, sorry about that. Well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20.
just
I'm
turned
just gonna go to
20, yeah.
Bermuda, jet off to Europe and some kiting. Yeah, man. You know, I'm
We're
jealous. I
all-
don't know about the rest of you guys.
Everybody here is 20 in their head, so.
There you go.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So my final question before we let the other guys ramble on. So going back to Jimmy and his skills, I was curious. Have you been able to see what he's capable of, and what do you think? What do you got to do to get him, up to a higher level?
I remember, so after the 2013 America's Cup that was in San Francisco, he actually did a Thursday night race out of St. Francis. And I remember like me and all the other like junior kiters, I think I was like 12 or 13 at the time, but we all beat him. So, and I mean, that was like, what is it, almost 8 years ago now. So hopefully he's gone a little bit better since then, but I think he can do it.
Yeah. All right, cool. Anybody else want to lob a softball Danielle's way?
Well, we'll follow you with great interest as you develop in the SailGP. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So Eisler, let's go back. We're rewind back a couple weeks because we haven't seen you for a little bit on what went down on your Cabo race there, race record and all.
Yeah, it was fantastic on the turbocharged Volvo 70 Roy Disney's Pyewacket, and we had a couple guys that came out of the New Zealand bubble barely with the America's Cup having finished, and so we had Brad Jackson and Kenny Reed flew straight into the airport in LAX and got on the boat and did an offshore race, which is the way to do it because you're already on watch system after a long flight anyway. But we had just the perfect weather. It was basically about 20 to 23 knots almost the whole way, basically a little bit skewed, but pretty much dead downwind. It was VMG running 95% of the race. And unfortunately, the two other big boats both had problems and dropped out. But we ripped it and rocked it, and it was a bowman's dream. We just threw up by the time nightfall came, we had the A3 up, and that thing stayed up the whole rest of the way. And maybe we changed the staysail or did a few jibes. It was like 5 and in, and really fun. We did a 24-hour point-to-point of 21 knots over the bottom, which is pretty good. And on our Speedo average over 20 knots the whole way, and just destroyed the race record, which is now 1 day and 21 hours from Newport Beach to Cabo.
Holy smokes.
Nice.
I got a couple pictures if you want to see.
Yeah, let's see. Fire it up.
All right, here we go. Let's cue it up back at the beginning here.
And you did call this race routing wise like a good week out. You knew this was coming, didn't you?
It's amazing. This race, you do the studies ahead of time and you look at all of these different weather models, and usually there's some sort of disparity in range and the fastest to the shortest, the fastest to the longest time and where you should go. But in this race, all the weather models just converged, and there's really high confidence that it was going to be just a great race, and it played out. And really the whole thing was, you should have a picture of a boat there on the bow now.
Let's see. It says you've started screen sharing, so let's see.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. My screen sharing is paused. Resume share. Wow, that's a new button on Zoom. Cool. Wonder what they keep it doing Zoom.
There we got it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how you go downwind on a Volvo 70. Looks like you're going beam reaching, right? And the parent wind's way ahead of the beam. But check out the water on deck. And
It's a little misting on your sunglasses, huh?
yeah, and you can see we're allowed to stack. It's sort of like we sail in Transpac race, where in all the West Coast races, where they allow you to move your sails from side to side, which is the hardest work aside from driving and holding on to that main sheet that we did. So I'll push button power, and I got another good shot of the crew getting all wet there. There's some horses. There's Daniela. I went down to Los Burles and tried to improve my kiting skills too. Do you have?
I love Los Feliz. I always go there every winter, so that's like I basically grew up there. Yeah.
All right, it's a great place. And there you should have Scotty Easom driving, and this is what you came on deck, and if you weren't driving or holding onto the main sheet, which is all push button power, you were just sitting on the back. You couldn't sit down because look at that flood on the deck. I mean, it was just soaking wet. And if you listen to the sound, there's Kenny right there talking to me saying, "Hey, come on, get up here. It's a really nice day." Like, no way, I got to navigate. So that's how we rolled going to Cabo. And it's all part of the Pyewacket program, which is run by Robbie Haynes and Roy Disney's campaign to hopefully have a great Transpac race this year, which starts in mid-July. And our next up, we've got the Newport Encinata race, which I hold the record on with Charlie Ogletree from Los Burles and Tom Siebel on the Orion. So we'll see if we can get that one.
Just racking them up. Well, nice. Well done on that. Push button all the way to Hawaii. I mean, what do you do to keep yourself entertained for so many days pushing buttons?
It's so noisy. It brings me back to my days when I sailed on that Rambler 100, because on these canting keel push button winch boats, the engine's going the whole time. And luckily they put the main sheet on Pyewacket. It's pretty clever. They changed that to a battery powered motor. So although if you're using any other winch on the boat, like trimming this spinnaker sheet, which in that case is really a big jib, so you just cleat it and go. It's apparent wind sailing. It's like foiling. And the main sheet doesn't make as much noise, but still it's really loud. Like I wear these ear protective headphones down below because it's louder than being in a concert, and for just 24/7. And it's a rough ride. It's like the Big Mod 70s. But we've got some tricks up our sleeve, some new sails and stuff, and new equipment. It's really cool. A very, very cutting edge program, and hopefully Kenny and Brad will come and add a little bit of humor on the race to Hawaii as well.
Yeah, Brad Jackson, what a legend. I haven't heard his name in a while. Has he been pretty active?
He hasn't. He's been just down, like all of us pro sailors, been pretty inactive, but he was down in New Zealand and broke out of the bubble to come do this and went straight back. So he does have I think he has a maxi, one of the senior tour boats, the super yacht. Sounds like a really cool program over in Europe. It sounds like it's ramping up this year again.
All right. So you mentioned some secret
Can I
weapons.
follow up on the powered winch question?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Pedro? Like, do you think that's a positive development for our sport? I can see for the really large, super yachts, it's a necessity. But we used to sail Volvo 70s human powered. Why is push button superior?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. And in fact, in this particular race, the Cabo race, as I pointed out, the crew, you came on deck, and unless you were driving or trimming, you were just standing around saying, "Hey, do you think the board should be a little higher or not?" It's already all the way up, so it can't go any higher. But that there's something to be said for the physicality and just the involvement of actually working the boat with the winches. So, and the noise is terrible, of having that engine going the whole time. You got to bring more fuel, so that's heavier. That said, really because of the super yachts and the J boats and some of the other classes that have really pushed the technology of powered winches and really good CPU systems that sort out where the hydraulic fluid's going, so it can all be efficient. And you can use, like in a jibe, you've got to spin the primaries to move this Jenniker sheet all the way around to the other side. Meanwhile, the main's coming across. That keel bulb takes a lot of fluid to move it across. And in the early days, you sort of had to wait, and one element would have to be moved at a time. Now goes. So it's cool to see how the power winch system has evolved. But I'm with you, Jonathan. It's at some point, it is not really sailing, or it's like sailing a laser. Wait a minute. I just spent 6 days with a kid who was just like glued to his iPad playing video games, and it's almost like video gaming, except you do have to drive the boat still.
Yeah, one thing, that I have a little bit of a vote for the human power, because it makes me nervous that guys like us who tend to be, either driving or trimming or navigating, if without the big guys on the boat, now we're the ones that have to move all the equipment around, and that's not very easy to do. I can tell you that I really appreciate those super big, strong guys when it comes time to move those big Jennekers and jibs around.
But it is a good point, Daniela, too. I mean, this is sort of the skills that are in the future, right? Is sort of the systems of these big boats and of boats in general. So you'll be in the heart of it all, of just the technical amazing traits of these boats.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think the F50 is a great example of that, and it's honestly incredible that you can press a button and you can change the rake and things like that. So yeah, it's a lot to learn, I think, and I've been doing so much reading on the systems manual and the controls and all of that. So there's a lot to learn there before, like I said, I actually go sail the boat. But it's a really cool system and really cool to learn about.
Sounds like some good bedtime reading,
Oh yeah.
All right, let's switch it over to you, Jonathan. You're just back from Charleston Race Week, which I'm sure they were excited to get off in a kind of a new kind of way, no parties and all that kind of stuff. But big fleets. From what I saw, some very entertaining commentary from Cameron Appleton. You guys better watch your TV jobs there. Cameron has the gift of rambling on at mark rounding. So if you haven't found it, go to the Charleston Race Week site and watch some of his Milges 24 commentary. It's hysterical. But you were in the 70s. Give us a lay of what happened down in Charleston.
Yeah, it was great to go to a real multi-class regatta again. And as you say, the social events are eliminated, but that really just puts the focus on the sailing, which is where it should be anyways. They do a great job with running the races there. And, both the Milges 24 and the J70 fleet were really competitive. So we had a lot of fun on our race course. We had one of those events where, you get every single break that you can get and everything just falls into place and it seems easy. So you think back on those regattas when you have one that's the opposite.
So Timothy, just real quick on the current there, how were you, sort of going into every race, and that's a big part of staying out of the chaos. Were you just be able to get out and get front and, away from most of the stuff happening behind you?
Well, no, not really. In fact, for the first 2 days, the current was across the wind. So it actually wasn't the dominant tactical factor. It was more play the shifts, and with the wind coming off of the south land up from the Ashley River, where was that last shift going to come? And, we had one beat, we probably tacked 15 times. So it was more wind sailing than current sailing for the first couple of days, although you did have to be careful where you were on the course axis as far as getting too off, down current. But then the last day was classic, wind against the current. So you had to take the boat and immediately tack and basically go as far as you could to the right, and people running aground, and it was that sort of tack, and then try to hit the ley line from way out with judging how much the current's going to sweep you down and stuff. So I really enjoy that. Like growing up in Puget Sound, that's something that I'm comfortable with, and is, I guess, over the years has become somewhat intuitive for me. But the people that sail in less current, it's a whole new element that they struggle with.
So you did win. I know you don't like to boast, but that's cool. And what boat? Give us a quick look at your team.
Yeah, we've got a really interesting makeup of our team. Our team is called Stampede. Our owner is a really nice person from Dallas. His name is Bruno Pasquinelli, very good sailor. And then we've got three Olympians, myself, my brother Charlie, and Joe Morris is our forward hand. So we're pretty stacked on the tactical side, so I think at a regatta like this, where things are changing quickly and it's very dynamic, actually having three top level tacticians on board was super valuable.
And so I know we have the Nude Regatta coming up in a couple of weeks, which precedes the North Americans. And we have a cap of 40, and I believe in the North Americans got a cap of 70, right? And
Yep.
Man, it is a incredibly stacked fleet. And I noticed today, and I was looking at an entry release that we have Michael Ilbrook back in the mix, which is pretty cool. Does that mean Kostecki's coming out of the woods?
Yep. And Federico McKee. Yeah, they've got I think Ross Hallcrow is sailing with them as well. So yeah, they've got a super good team.
Holy smokes. So, I mean, how do you stay on top of a group this good at this time of year? I mean, this is pro sailing getting back into it, isn't it?
You don't just say, oh, we're going to be on top. The way you get better is you just focus on the process and just try to do each little thing better, and train on the things that you really want to work on. Like we've put a lot of focus on starting. So, we spend probably half of our training time on starting. So, you win by doing it well, not by there's no tricks, there's no shortcuts,
So if you don't mind, share a little bit on the starting, what is working or what works nowadays with these boats? So, for you guys with all this talent, how can you presume you know how to start at this point?
You would think so. But everybody else does too. And everybody has the GPS. So exactly where the start is. And I think for a lot of these small keel boats, that's really changed the game. Where, used to be a lot of judgment about the line. And now it's like everyone knows where the line is. So it's just a matter of how do you get there and how are you able to execute your plan, 2 minutes after the start.
So to follow up on the question about electronic winches, what do you think about having all that ability with GPS to know exactly where you are versus your?
Yeah, I'm actually not a big fan. I would prefer if we did not have a GPS at the start. I think it would just bring a little bit of that art form back.
Yep.
I think the Etchells does not allow it, but the J70s and Melges 24s do. So, the classes are a bit split on that question.
Do you feel it does cut back on the general recalls and such? I mean, since they've been in play, or does it make it worse?
Possibly. I don't think it's had a big impact on that. Yeah, there's pros and cons.
All right. Well, good luck on your next two then. I guess we'll see you in Annapolis.
Hey,
Ed,
Dave, just one thing.
Yeah.
Jonathan is being just a little bit modest here that, everything just kind of came together and it went well. I believe if I get the scores right that I looked at, you guys had 24 points out of something like 8 races or 9 races. And the fleet then started with 40, 41, 42, 44 points. So they kind of crushed everybody this week. And so they've got some of this figured out. Maybe it was because it was current and you guys have a bunch of smart people, but that you did a really great job at Charleston this week. And I'd sure you'd like to keep racing there if you could.
If only the Worlds were in Charleston.
Yeah, it's going to be a different place than the Southern California coastline where the Worlds are this year.
Yeah,
so.
completely different.
Well, very cool. All right, Ed, so what have you been up to?
Oh, geez, there's been all kinds of stuff. I think the last time we talked, I just finished doing a J70 regatta with my son as a stand-in for my other son. That was fun. And then we've just had a bunch of racing here over the past couple of weekends, youth events. There was a big one in Sarasota this weekend with all the young sailors in the junior classes. And there was also a good sized PHRF type race here, Suncoast Race Week that happened. It was a little unfortunate that we had some violent weather that I'm sure a lot of you saw going through the country that kind of came through here on Sunday and made it pretty difficult to get races off. But people were out having just a great couple of events, and it's really good to see the waterfront be vibrant again, like with the racing and not just with people out in their boats cruising around. We've got the open wheel IndyCar race coming up next week. So before you know it, they're going to be closing down our waterfront for a few days while the race cars go around and all the super yachts tie up all the docking. So that's kind of fun to see that it's coming back as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. I forgot about that. We were down your neck of the woods with the nude. What it was, I guess, last week, huh? And
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, the big docks going in by the airport. You're like, what's going on? Oh, that's right. It's amazing that they drive high speed cars through that city. But it would be pretty cool to see.
Well, it's not too hard. I mean, the most of the buildings stay put pretty well, so it's the cars can zoom around. But I'll tell you what, the really fun one is they have these trucks that race around at the same track, and they're basically just mid-sized pickup trucks. And but they have jacked up suspensions and big wheels on them and stuff. And they put a bunch of hazards out in the course. They just drop this stuff in the course, and these trucks go jumping through the air and flying around the corners, and they tip over and roll. And, that's what everybody gets entertained by this stuff. And then they come up with the Indy cars, and man, they're fast and it's a different world. But, there's a little bit something down there for everybody.
Yeah, that's wild. It's always close to the nude. And we always keep on one of these years that'll overlap enough to stick around.
Well, you guys, when the nude was here 2 weekends ago, we should probably talk about that a little bit too. You had some incredible conditions. I mean, that was one of the really nice, weeks of breeze that we had. And it was a little bit of a Chamber of Commerce weekend because it was windy and cool and everything was great. And then on the last day, before it was time to absolutely wrap up the event, the wind dropped down and got pretty soft. So they sent everybody in. And when they were putting their boats away for the end of the day, the sun was out. It was 80 degrees. It was, quiet and easy to wash down your gear and get ready to go home. So pretty fun weekend. And, you and I missed each other because we were always on different courses out there, but it was exciting watching all the racing.
Yeah, it was. That was fortuitous, I guess, of moving it out of February, which we always thought was kind of nice. But to have it in April and have ripping spring-like conditions was really nice. And and in fact, let's see, that would be my last screen share. I want to let Gary. So we did not, because of COVID, we didn't bring down a video team that we normally do. So I was I call it playing amateur videographer. And I had just a GoPro that I found a really nice carbon, a 49er tiller extension down the sailing center, and strapped that bad boy onto the end and close. So I'd actually never interviewed Robbie Parent, one of our NACRA 17 representatives, and what a sharp kid. But he this was 40 ACAT spoilers and classics and good guys, and he just actually shellacked the fleet. And so the nice thing about him in this case, we were able to follow him because he was a complete leg ahead to just sort of get right into his transom with this little camera. And he could care less that we were, annoying him. But, I'll share that because it's fascinating to me. It's like, you can watch this all day long. I believe this, he's only aged for a while, but he's pretty new to this. Danielle, I think you would own it. There you go. And he pretty much sent it the same way down the finish, but it was just fun watching those guys and makes and it is really amazing. The age of the A class fleet there is higher than you would think. And you'd see some of the old timers go around Lure to Mark and just stop, park it, kind of catch their breath, and he didn't go off again. It's like, whew. But
well, that was,
yeah, it was a great feeling.
If I'm not mistaken, that was the last day, because you wouldn't have been able to follow him like that on the first 2 days. It was a little bumpier and windier, but it was fun to watch those boats go around, and there were a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah. So they've got their worlds coming up. They punted ahead, I guess, to 2022 in St. Pete, where they expect 80 or more of them. So yeah, look forward to that.
They really figured out the importance of sealing off the bottom of the main, I think, on the A class sooner than almost any other class.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a huge efficiency gain when they figured out how to have the foot basically touching the trampoline. And now, of course, America's Cup and everything like that's super important.
Yeah. Well, we got to get you into one of those, Daniela. I think there's plenty of them lying around. So when you show up Bermuda, start asking around to get yourself on an ACAT.
Yeah, one of these days. I know Riley sails them. Yeah, Riley sails them quite a bit. So I'll have to get him to take me out on one of these days.
Yeah, you take him out. You take him. I bet you're better at it. All right, Gary, you've been quite a, what's the scoop in Annapolis? Well, I guess, like I said, we'll see you in a few weeks.
Oh, we're looking forward to having a nude here in Annapolis, following up in St. Pete and San Diego. Very cool. 2 things on my list today. One of the greats of our sport, Con Finley, passed away last week. He's 90 years old, and he sailed with Dennis Conner in the Olympics in 1976 in the Tempest class. And of course, he was on with us in Courageous when we won the America's Cup, and he won the Transpac with Windward Passage. And one of the great guys. He always joked that he was 5'19", as opposed to being 6'7". Anyway, we'll miss him, but he was one of the greats.
And a 4-time Olympian, a 4-time medalist in
2 sports.
Different sports in both rowing and sailing. So I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, the interesting thing is 2 golds and a bronze in double sculls. So double sculls, you had a coxswain and then 2 rowers. And so it's strong. He's a graduate of USC. He also had a master in MBA. A lot of people don't know that. And, had a great career. But, in the America's Cup team, one quick story, he was kind of stoic all the time. No matter if we lost or won, steady Eddie the entire time. And finally we win the thing, and I'm walking around the deck shaking everybody's hands, and I put my hand out for Con, and he grabbed me and gave me a bone crunching bear hug. And it was finally, he showed some emotions there when we finally won the cup. And he'd been on Mariner in 74, and he'd been on Heritage in 1970. So he'd seen a couple losses before he was on Courageous. So I think it meant a lot that he erased the demons of the past. And then the second thing I wanted to say is I saw a really cool film this weekend, and I got to moderate a panel for the Annapolis Film Festival. And you could go to the Annapolis Film Festival. It's on there for next week, called The Race to Alaska. And oh my gosh, they got 40 or 50 of these boats ranging from small catamarans to Melga's 32 and all kinds of nondescript craft. And it's 750 miles from Port Townsend, which is somewhere north of where Jonathan is, all the way up to Ketchikan, through all kinds of complicated straits, and you go outside or inside. And they had 22 cameras filming this thing with all kinds of emotions and stories. And, Pedro and Ed and Jonathan, it's the flip side of what you guys do as pro sailors on maxi boats. And going fast. I got tired, and so I went ashore and slept in a tent for 3 hours, and then I wasn't tired anymore, so I continued on. And another guy did it on a paddleboard. I said, man, you had to get a sail. It's a lot easier than paddleboarding 750 miles. Anyway, it was an interesting film. Race to Alaska, I recommend.
Yeah, a super cool event. And I'm really a big fan of these sort of adventure events that are not just all about the competition. It's about people, achieving life goals and doing things that are really hard. Whether you're on a sailboat or there's quite a few kayaks, stand-up paddle boards. I think the guy finished, took him 40 days to get there on a stand-up paddleboard.
Right. He was trying to do 50 miles a day. First prize was a stack of 20s, $10,000 that they had nailed in some log. And second prize was a set of new steak knives. That was it. That was the prize. And everybody that got interviewed talked about how much they wanted the steak knives. The money, that's fine, but I want those steak knives. Kind of fun.
There's really only two rules: that you can't have an engine and no support. Other than that, you can take any craft you want.
If you ran that race in the winter, the secret, I already figured out how you win this thing, is you get the Huskies. And I think Huskies swim really well too. You just dominate.
They have people with bicycle pedals turning propellers around and rowing when the wind goes light. It's a good film. It was well shot and lots of drone footage and onboard and great interviews along the way. So,
well, one day when they get tired of the snow and ice side of things, then you can come down here to Florida, and St. Petersburg has the Everglades Challenge, which starts on the beaches out here and goes, I don't know, I think it's 350 or 60 miles down to Key Largo. And you can go inside, outside, through the beaches. Same deal. You have to pick when you sleep. Maybe you sleep on the trampoline of your boat while a second person, sails, but you can row, you can paddle, you can do all those things, but no engines and no support. And it's an interesting group that does that every so often. And it's not for me, but it's definitely interesting to watch.
Randy Smythe leading the charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you do. That's what you do with an ACAT. He uses the ACAT holes for that.
Great guy.
Well, I don't think anybody's foiled either course. So maybe that's the next key, is to stand up paddleboard with a foil or something, get you down the course a little more or something. But
well, I'll tell you, there's some
in front of you.
Amazing currents and whirlpools and whales and things along the way. But as Jonathan points out, winning's a lower priority than just finishing the course.
So you either get eaten by bears or eaten by mosquitoes. You take your choice, which way you want to go down. So, well, you can add that one to the future, Daniela. I think when you go for your third Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year, you could say, check, I did SailGP, check, I did Race to Alaska on my foiling kiteboard and won. So that's the challenge for you now.
Yeah, that would be cool for sure. Yeah, some kind of long distance kite foiling. That would be cool for sure.
You got to take your tent with you so you can camp. You get tired every now and then.
My kite can multi-purpose as a tent and mattress.
Cool. All right. I think we're up against our time. So thanks everybody for joining. It's good to catch up. I know it's been a while. So I guess some of you will see Indianapolis, the rest, and Danielle, good luck. I guess we'll be watching virtually at the SailGP app and everything, I guess the other ways, because none of us can get down to the island. So you've got your lucky ticket to get in and enjoy it. Super jealous. It'll be fun.
I will.
Yeah. Okay. Great to be with everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Daniela.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Good luck
to Jimmy. And then remember, he can't say good job, boys, anymore. He's got to come up with something new. So you got to work him on that one too.
Yeah. Good point. And by the way, I think he's got more world titles than he does.
He's probably got more America's Cup wins than I do too.
Okay.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining.
You too.
We'll see you.
Thanks, guys. Goodbye.